So first, I want to say, take care. It's really important not to become dispirited, not to despair, not to become depressed. Take care of yourselves, take care of one another. And for every disappointing conversation that you have, and I've had some this week, with faith leaders, with elected officials, find another counterpoint. Find a good conversation, a reassuring one, an uplifting one, a reinforcing one. And there are many to be had. I've had those too this week. With faith leaders and with elected officials. So I'm not saying to pretend away the hard news. Read it, know it, but also find yourself some of those uplifting stories, the biographies of Jewish athletes who are competing in the Olympics. They're gorgeous and strong and tremendous, right? Take pride in them. And don't deny yourself the pleasures that come with summer or with birthdays. That's okay too. We are in the last parsha for the book of Bamidbar. It's a double portion this year, Matot Maseh. So we are doubly blessed with Torah this week. Matot means tribes, and Maseh means travels or journeys. And contained in Parashat Matot, we have the first example that I can point to of, well, maybe second example that I can point to in the Torah of diaspora guilt. And it's a real thing. You might be feeling it the way I'm feeling it. I want to share with you how the story goes and how the rabbis treat the verses here. So remember, at the end of the book, by the way, we say, Chazak, Chazak, v'nit chazek. So tomorrow we'll be saying, be strong, and let us strengthen one another. That is how a Jew closes off a book. So where does the diaspora guilt come in? So we are at the end of the 40 years of wilderness wanderings. All the dreams are about to be fulfilled. We're about to cross over the Jordan River from the east to the west and make our way home again after centuries away, returning to our ancestral homeland. So imagine we're right on the edge of the fulfillment of those dreams, of that promise. And then the leadership from 2 of the tribes, and later we learn actually 2.5 tribes, approach Moses and they say, you know, we're cattle people. And the land to the east of the Jordan River is perfect for our cattle. So we were thinking, maybe we'll just stay right here, settle down here. And Moses snaps back and says, are your brothers to go to war while you sit here? And the rabbis ask, why was Moses so angry? There could be many reasons. What was it about? I'll share just 3 with you. In Bamidbar Rabbah, it is suggested that these 2.5 tribes misunderstood the whole purpose of the journey back home again. They thought it was about creature comforts, about political power, about economic gains. And so they said, well, for cattle people, it's a better match for us here east of the Jordan. But that was their great mistake, because that's not what the journey was about at all. Not about power or comfort, but rather about a sacred mission. When you match up the Jewish people, when you match up the people of Israel with the land of Israel, then we are capable of doing right for all the world. Another suggestion comes from Sforno, the 16th century Italian philosopher and biblical commentator and physician. And he says The problem with these 2.5 tribes who chose to live outside the land was that they were diminishing the morale of the other tribes. And that part of our responsibility is to lift each other up. So when I say to you, don't become dispirited, it's Shabbos, sing a little, have a piece of cake, That's part of our responsibility one to the other, is to lift each other up. And by saying we intend to stay outside of the land, they were at risk of demoralizing the others. And then the third possibility that I want to share with you tonight comes from the 15th century Spanish commentator, Yitzhak ben Moshe Arama, and he offers an explanation that points to the ambiguity of the 2.5 tribes, that they didn't really know what they stood for. They didn't really know what was important to them. They didn't really know what their priorities were. And so they seemed to lack confidence in who they were and what they were really about. And so Moses says, it's important to know where you stand. Last week's Parsha, Pinchas, was a warning against zealotry and passion and being uncompromising and going to the extreme. This week's Parsha is just the opposite. The warning comes to say, live a life of passion. Know what you want and be committed to it. And don't lose your clarity. So certainty is not a Jewish ideal. It's important to say, I don't know when you don't know. But clarity is a Jewish ideal and something that we should strive for. Think about the difference between certainty and clarity. It is written, you shall be clear before the eternal your God and before Israel. V'yitem nikiyim me'Adonai u'me'Yisrael. This is not about being stubborn or even certain. It's about making commitments, and this is not always easy. So on this Shabbat, I pray that God will strengthen us in this time of uncertainty and worry, and that as Moses did for the 2.5 tribes, in their moment of a lack of clarity, may we challenge one another. If there are moments of ambivalence, let us reinforce one another so that our passions and commitments will be for the good, and so that we can say to one another, Chazak, Chazak, v'nitchazek.